Hello again, ninth grade. We are back for our next dive into ancient history. And we're going to pick up where we left off last time as soon as I find my pen. So whether we're virtual or in the classroom, the same problem plagues me, which is always lose my pen. So we left off here last time. I'm going to drive y'all nuts today because I'm going to make you jump around some on this notes one page that we're going to be finishing. And we left off here by saying, we're at the end of the Paleolithic era and farming begins, which changes the entire world. Everything changes. Everything starts moving much faster in the growth of human technology and the advancement of human capability. And you'll see here on this slide, quickly we get civilizations and towns, villages become towns and towns become cities. And it's all because of agriculture. But before we do that, we need to step backwards a little bit. And we need to go back to the things that make the Paleolithic era, some of the cultural traits and some of the advancements. We're just going to establish a list. And after our next class, you're going to actually get a project that's going to count as an assessment grade. And this is a state mandated project. And we're going to give you some flexibility in it because of this distance situation. But it's where you're going to show the key traits of the Paleolithic era. And you're going to show the key traits of the Neolithic era. And you're going to explain them to us so that you can differentiate the thing. So I'm going to try to make it easy for you. And if you pay attention and you stick with me, we're going to put those big traits down, and then it's going to be up to you to show us how you're going to show them. Okay. So we're going to start today by listing traits of the Paleolithic era. This is your sheet. Excuse me. This is what it looks like. So you're up here at the top on your PDF, right? And we just wrote 8,000 BCE. It's the last thing we did. Agriculture changes the world. I need you to skip this next section for the time being. Come down here to the bottom to where it says Paleolithic era, and you've got these boxes, and that's where we're at right now, down here at this bottom of your PDF, and you just tab, and you go down or click it with your mouse. So Paleolithic era, that is right here. It is nicknamed the Old Stone Age. And paleo means old, and lithic is stone. All right. And it lasts from 2.5 million BCE, which is our friend Homo habilis handyman when we first enter the Old Stone Age with the creation of stone tools and bone tools and wooden tools, to 8,000 BCE, where we're still in the Stone Age. Okay. But we're in the New Stone Age because agriculture comes along and everything changes in that time period, becomes a different era. So let's look at the traits of the Old Stone Age. All right. And you've got that big box there. All you got to do is list little bullet points. There's not going to be a ton of things to put in there. You just make bullet points and list them down. Put in explanations and context where you want to. In the Old Stone Age, in the Paleolithic era, people were nomadic, which is nice unless you don't know what nomadic means. So we have to make sure that you have that definition. All right. And so what does nomadic mean? Okay. It means that people moved. Okay. They had no permanent homes. In a very advanced academic setting, they may call this primal folk wanderings. People would move as the seasons dictated, as herds moved that they used for hunting, as the crops changed, they'd move to new places to locate food, as danger arose, that kind of stuff. They were nomadic. Obviously, there were no cameras back then. This is a picture, and this picture is of a nomadic tribe, a tribal group of people that still live this way, and they live in these kinship units, small groups where they travel around without permanent residence. To live somewhere permanently, you have to have agriculture or access to agricultural goods, a permanent, predictable food supply. All right. In the Paleolithic era, people were not farmers. They were hunter-gatherers. All right. If you are a hunter-gatherer, you're collecting food items. It means that if it is meat, that you hunt it. And if it is a natural product like a vegetable or a fruit or nuts or whatever, seeds, you gather it. And everybody was involved in the collection of the foodstuffs that were necessary to survive. All right. And so they would wander from place to place, and then everybody had their own job when they got to a new location to make sure that the family unit, the kinship unit, the tribe had what was necessary to live. All right. So how would they hunt? How would they clean these products? Well, they made simple tools, and that's where the name Paleolithic comes from. Simple stone tools. Now, it wasn't just stones. We think of it as the old Stone Age because this was the hardest and sharpest substance they worked with. But when I say simple tools, we're actually talking about stone, bone, and wooden tools. And here you see a collection of Paleolithic tools. You've got spearheads and arrowheads. You've got, tools that are designed for cutting, for slicing, for piercing. We have fish hooks. We have items that are made for sewing. We have jewelry. We have clasps for clothing, but all simple things with simple uses, but necessary for survival, and huge advancements in what we were capable of doing when we started creating tools to match our needs. I keep using this term tribe and kinship units and that kind of stuff. What we call these groups of people are clans. They had a clannish existence. Now, a clan doesn't mean that you're all blood relatives, even though a lot of people in clans are blood relatives. But it is a family unit, as in these people are responsible for one another, and they all work together for survival. And again, I point out, these aren't paintings. These are pictures of, people who still live in uncontacted clans, that still live as hunter-gatherers, that still live as nomads. This bottom picture here is only a year or two old. The helicopter was flying over the Amazonian jungle, and this particular group, which is a Stone Age tribe, they came out and they started firing arrows at the helicopter, and they had not been contacted by the modern world. So, the vast majority of humanity has moved into a modern era, but not all of us. There are still these types of groups that exist in the world that we live in. Definitely during the Paleolithic era, we developed oral language. You may remember from our last talk, not 100% certain how long oral language has been around. No, it has been around for 50,000 years, but probably much, much, much longer than that. But oral language is so important because it gives us the ability to share complex information. And it's not... See, I didn't use oral language right there. I held up my hand like stop or wait a minute. That's not oral language, but you knew what I meant. But with oral language, I can give you a more complex set of instructions. So we can go from telling people to stop or good job or hi or pointing at something to instead telling people how to weave or, brain surgery or how to rebuild a car engine. A huge advancement in our ability to share what we learn and what we know as people, and an important trait of the Paleolithic world. Talking about traits, they created cave art. We always think of, the idea of cave art, cavemen and sketching paintings and that kind of stuff. But the idea that we're leaving permanent representations of what we want to portray to the world, and you think about what's being drawn in these cave art paintings, they're drawing things from the world around them, and they're beautiful, and they're subtle, and they capture a lot of the world. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what's the function of art? And it's to leave a permanent marker when you're not there. And these cave paintings had significant ritualistic uses in these clans, these Paleolithic clans. And we find fires and offerings and, signs that people had visited these areas, and a multitude of hands that created these artistic works. There's some very famous areas that have these works that serve, different purposes. But if you look here, this is the oldest cave painting that has ever been discovered. And, it's actually in a cave that the mouth to the cave is under the ocean. This is almost 50,000 years old. And there are a series of drawings of seals, which makes sense right there along the edge of the ocean. People capturing sea turtles, which are, animals that live out in the ocean, showed that they were traveling and going into the sea, into the ocean. People capturing hunters and dancing. This is one of my favorite. My Spanish is terrible, but it's Cuevas de Manos, which is the cave of hands. And when young men would become men, they would go and they would place their hand on these cave walls, and they would take a tube and blow colored powder called ochre through the tube and permanently capture their handprints inside this rock shelter. So the mark of their passage into manhood is there forever. These are human things that we can look back, on people who for hundreds of generations have been dead, and they've left their mark in the world, and you're hearing about them today. And that's what makes art powerful. This is Le Chaux Cave, and it's located in France, and it's one of the most famous cave painting areas on Earth. Up to a point, you could actually go in and visit it, but the materials used to create the paintings in Le Chaux are so volatile that people entering and exiting, their actual breath was deteriorating in the paintings. And it's much bigger than people think. I'm moving it around, but if a full-grown person was standing right here, they would be about that big. So you think about the fact that these Paleolithic artists are building scaffolding to be able to get in here and to paint these giant paintings across the ceilings of this cave. And I don't know how long I'm going to offer this, but I am going to, and I'll post it online in our Google Classroom, but I do want to give you just a taste of what Le Chaux looks like. And so they've created a 3D walkthrough through the Le Chaux Cave so that you can get a sense of seeing what it's like to go visit, even though visiting is not something that is possible right now. So I'm going to link us onto that for just a second so that you can take a look at what Le Chaux is like, if it cooperates. It does. So they're going deep into these passages under the earth, and you can start seeing some of the figures that are being painted on the walls and on the ceilings of these caverns. And they're going far down into these caves. And these paintings, like I said, they're going to serve some ritual purposes for the people that had created them. We'll see if I can jump just a little bit to some of the more famous. Here we go. See if we can see some of the more famous examples. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to post access to this online, and you'll be able to go in, look at that to your heart's content. turn it over to where it is showing it to you in English, and really check it out if you'd like to see some of that that painting. Okay, that's done, and it's beautiful. In this Paleolithic era, we also first commanded fire. Everybody thinks about fire, and they think about it in a way of, we had warmth and we could cook food. And that's true. But really why fire matters is it's the birth of human culture. So, human beings who are living these hunter-gatherer lifestyles would spend their entire life, all of their time, seeking food, trying not to get, killed by other tribal groups, or, what nature throws at them, preparing to move all the time. And all of a sudden, fire allowed you to chase away the things that were in the darkness that you were afraid of, to sit together, to talk, to play music, to tell stories. And it gives us a measure of safety. But probably for the first time in the human experience, it gives us leisure time. And from leisure time comes creativity and art and culture and ritual and religious beliefs. And so a lot of this probably starts coming or becoming part of the human experience with fire. So we get this idea of the birth of human culture and all of the variety that we're blessed with as citizens of the world, all of the variety of languages and stories and traditions. And so human culture is born in the Paleolithic era, okay? The next time we meet, we are going to talk about the Neolithic era, and we're going to finish up this timeline and this set of notes. And I'm going to give you your PBA, which is going to have you create a visual representation of major aspects and traits of the Paleolithic era, and have you create and show major aspects and traits of the Neolithic era, differentiating between the two and explaining what you've captured. And I will give you the instructions for that the next time we meet, and we will finish up this set of notes. Thank you all so much for your time. I hope you have a great day. Make sure you're keeping up with all your work, and I'll see you next time we get together. Bye.